Have you ever Googled yourself? Yeah, it's so weird.
It is weird.
There's
And then there's always pictures that pop up that aren't you, and you're like,
there's
that's
so
not...
many not me's. There's some. There's like a mugshot. I'm like, that's not me. There's Angela Ramey who made some basket, like one of those like half-court basketball like things, and won a prize. I'm like, nope, not me.
Oh, that's super funny.
I know.
Right. There's an author somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, I have to
Google.
find her or something. You know, don't you want to kind of...
Yeah.
Anyway. Welcome to In the Act, a radio program on process in the creative life. Creativity does not just start and stop with artists. We all make aesthetic or guiding decisions. Our aim is to talk through the process and investigate how we choose to express ourselves and how we live creatively. We're connecting with people about their lives, and that's the subject of our show. Broadcasting from Meade Public Library in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, I'm Erica Hunsinger, and this is In the Act. And today's guest is a mother, a friend, a incredible creative person, director
Sure.
of performing arts at the Arts Center.
Yeah. Program director.
Program director.
Yeah, get that word in there. Yeah.
Yes, program director.
Performing arts program director.
Oh, I see. Performing arts program director. Yeah, at the John Michael Kohler Arts Center. Background in musical theater.
Not musical.
Not musical.
I'm what they call a single threat. I cannot dance or sing.
A single threat.
I'm a single threat.
So great.
Have you heard of triple threat?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a single threat.
Oh my gosh, of course.
Yeah.
Angela Ramey.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for asking me to be here. Erica. Okay, I'm going to get my giggles out.
Oh, no, you don't have to.
Okay, good.
You can do that all the way through if you want to.
Oh, boy.
I mean, so I think of you as, I think because of, we work together.
Yes.
And you have, I think, in general, this amazing connection with people that is both like improv and kind and funny and endearing and very creative in how you live your life and how you connect with others and how you promote and support creativity. And so that was one reason why I wanted to have
I
you
love
on.
that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with the word creative. I never have identified as a creative person. So, yeah.
What about that word?
Well, like when I think creative, I think of someone who can create something on the spot. You know, like that. I don't know why. I don't know where that came from, but like Eric, my co-hab, like he's an artist, a visual artist, performing artist, and but he went to school for visual art, and we watched a movie. I'm not going to remember who the artist was, but some artist who would do these mail arts where they would make like a postcard or whatever, just mail it to strangers like around the world. And he got inspired by that. So he went through this phase where he just cut up a piece of paper and just made art, like just on the spot right there. And like if you give me a piece of paper and say, draw something, make art, it's like I go back to first grade and I got rainbows and hearts and stars and smiley faces and peace signs and that.
Right.
I can't just make art.
Right.
I could never do improv in high school or anything. I was in comedy sports and I was the worst. No one wanted to be on my team because I couldn't just come up with something on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
So I never think of myself as creative because I, for some reason, put those parameters around that word.
Oh, golly. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Because there's not a timeline on creativity, like a stopwatch.
Yeah.
Because that might not be your process. And
yeah, it's not.
well, right. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's not your process.
No. But I don't know what my process is. It's so funny because in thinking about coming here and, having anxiety about it and all of that, I was like, trying to think do I have a creative? I've never really done soul searching on that. Like, what's my process and what's my thing? I'm just very much in the moment.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
In the moment, I'm having a hard time identifying those two places. So you're very much in the moment, but yet you don't feel like you improv well. Right? I mean, they kind of like are sandpaper against each other.
They kind of are, yeah. I don't know. I wish
it's interesting.
I always wish I could create something like create something that would be considered art in the moment.
Like a visual art.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And I think that's where people kind of get stuck on what creativity is. And that's why I'm partly doing this show, because I think that every act, like just being, just the making of our human being every day from our waking moments are small little acts of creativity.
I love that in your description, how you plate food and how, what you decide to wear. I think that's so, I love that description. That made me feel more qualified to be here because I put food on plates and I put clothes on every day. I'm like, yeah, I can do that.
And you always curate your jewelry. I'm always very aware of like what you're wearing on your neck or your ears, or how you're doing your hair, how you're wearing.
My jewelry is every piece, not every, but a lot of the pieces have a lot of power for me, And so like if I'm feeling a certain way, like let's say I have a meeting or something where I know I'm going to have to present, or I'm going to have to be, like, a big deal and sound like really important and all of that, I'll wear a piece that holds that kind of like, kind of like that, I'm going to say it, like boss bitch kind of feel, like I always want to, wear pieces like that. If I'm feeling, thoughtful or sad or whatever, there's different pieces that I wear for that. Yeah. I have a lot of energy in my jewelry, more than my clothes. My clothes are just like, ugh, you have to put clothes on.
Right. They're like the backdrop or the painted walls for the stuff inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what am I wearing? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right? I know. So, there's a piece of jewelry that you're wearing. It's like two different pieces. It's like half moon shaped. They looked like rocks.
This is a Susan Richter O'Connell that I commissioned from her, and it's the most precious thing I have in my jewelry box.
I see.
And it's kind of sad, but do you want to hear why?
Yes.
Okay. I commissioned her 3 pieces, actually. One for my stepdad, one for my mom, and one for me. And the rocks, and it's a piece of driftwood on here as well. My brother died 4 years ago, and he lived in Milwaukee, and we took some of his ashes and put it in Lake Michigan in Milwaukee. So it's kind of great that I'm here in Sheboygan, because the lake now holds a whole nother meaning for my parents and myself,
Absolutely.
Because that's where we can go and visit them and think about them. But that day that we walked the beach and we kind of had this ceremony, just the 3 of us, I collected some rocks and some wood, and just from that day, and I didn't have the intention of why. And then one day I realized I need these, and so I had her create necklace pendants for the 3 of us.
Wow.
Yeah. So today my brother was incredibly creative, so that's why I'm wearing this today, because I'm trying to channel his creative energy
and bring him with you.
Yeah, and bring him with me.
Wow,
yeah,
that is so
he would be
beautiful.
freaking out right now that I'm doing this. He'd be thinking it's so cool.
Yeah. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Yeah. It's everyone's loss, man. He was a good part of this world.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, jewelry.
Right. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
I know that was really
No, it's fine.
a lot.
I like it's got, especially during the holidays. My mom and I last night were talking about, freaking holidays, and there's always, I don't know why, that drudges up things, and it makes things so much better and so much harder. It's like, why?
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's probably just because it's such a big part of our history. And, growing up, it's Christmas, and that's when you're with family. And
Right. And it's that oscillation of coming back together then again.
the commercials tell you to be together and joyful. And so
Right.
you must be together and joyful.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
he's on top right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's good to talk about, though. You got to talk about him.
I agree with you completely. And you said he was really creative.
Yeah.
What was important about his creativity for you?
He was one of those people that could just come up with something on the spot. I don't know why.
Was he a visual artist?
He was
then?
not a visual
Okay.
artist. He was a poet. He was a writer.
Yes.
An amazing poet.
Oh.
Yes. He was a fantastic poet. Published a few times, in like the Shepherd Express and some of the literary, poetry magazine type of things. Yeah. He went to school for broadcast journalism, but we always had this fantasy when our lives were kind of, so every once in a while, his life and my life would kind of be in this kind of like broken state, right? Where we don't have a partner, we don't have we're not in school, we don't have a goal, we're not working towards something. And during those times, we would sit and fantasize about moving to California.
Yeah.
And we were going to write a sitcom together because I always wanted him to be in a writing room, like in a sitcom type of thing or like a late night show. Like he would just, like, because he can come up with that stuff. Like I never knew how they could do that in Saturday Night Live and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
So we were like, and I was going to, of course, star in it.
Right.
That was our master plan. Never happened.
Because you act.
Yes. Yeah. That's my background. Yes. I've been acting. I did my first play when I was 7 years old.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
7?
Yeah. My mom had a rule, many a rules, but her rule, or what I don't know if she'd call it a rule, but it was probably for our development and for her own sanity, is Jesse and I both had to be doing something, especially in the summer, like an instrument, a sport, something. And so, of course, I did soccer. Not an athlete. I played cello, not a musician. And so one summer, there was the summer, rec department in Middleton. That's where I'm from. And it was Annie. And I auditioned for Annie. And I was 7 years old. And the audition, you had to sing. You had to bring something prepared. And we didn't know what that meant. So I sang a cappella, Inch by Inch, Row by Row, if you're familiar with Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. It's a song about gardening. Oh, and the director came up to me afterwards and said, well, since you obviously can't sing, we're going to put you in this, this chorus or whatever. So, yeah, I played anyways, yeah. So that was my first time on stage, and I just loved it. I love the community of theater. The community of theater, there's nothing beats it. I've never met another group of people that I just love and hate, and just like we just like like there's the techs and the backstage people, and that's their own breed. That is a breed of people,
right?
And then there's the actors, and that's a breed of people, know.
Yeah.
And they're just wonderful human beings to be around.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's like the safest place on earth, because if you decide to go into theater, you're kind of making this agreement with yourself that you have to be fearless. How vulnerable. You're going on stage, or you're creating lights, or you're creating sound, and it's incredibly vulnerable. So you have to be fearless. And so you're with all these other people who've kind of made this nonverbal agreement with themselves that we're going to be fearless and we're going to do this. And so you only uplift other people. So when they go on stage, or if they're creating something, you only uplift them up, because you know, even nonverbally and maybe not even consciously, how hard it is to be that in that world. So it's just a very supportive environment.
Oh, I love that.
I love it too.
That's like sort of like the heart of the backstageness.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a word.
I love it.
But I did just a tiny bit of theater, but I understand what it's like if you're not feeling well and somebody like gives you a little hint, or like makes you a cup of tea, or like there's this ebb and flow of like who needs what, how are we going to work together as this one big muscle to present and be. Yeah.
It's because it takes, to put on a production, it's, the actors usually get a lot of because you're the ones on stage, and the one that's visible.
Yeah.
But like, I just love the tech side of it. I love going to see shows.
Yeah.
And I've had many friends who are in theater who are just like, I can't go to community theater. It's not good enough, or it's not this or whatever. And it's like, I go to every show wanting to love it.
Oh, that's so neat.
That I think, and that probably carries on in most of my life. I go in, wanting to have a good time. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
So when you notice, so I'll be like, I've got my whole little rules of theater, right? but like, if you do not notice the lighting, it's phenomenal lighting. If you do not notice the sound, it is phenomenal sound. If you don't notice the acting, it's phenomenal acting. So it's like such a weird world, right? If it's really good, you won't see it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I love the details. I love like going to a play where, let's say, someone's like in a kitchen, like it's part of the set, and they open the refrigerator, and the set designer was smart enough to put a light in the refrigerator. So it goes on. I notice if someone opens a refrigerator on stage and there's no light. It's like, come on, just put the light on there.
Right.
So those little fun things. Yeah.
Sure.
I love it. It's an amazing world. Now I got to do a show.
Right. Right. Well, so it was stage theater that you did. Did you? I mean, stage theater. That's a whole other world that people are talking about. Intimidation is like that. Going in front of people. That's one of the one of the top 3 stressors I think of all times of people. It's like death, moving, and public speaking. It's like top 3 or something. So you were in like the like theater world. Did it continue from like 7 on? Like that's just like
then that was done. That was it. That's my thing. That was my thing. Oh. I think I did volleyball in 7th grade and I did cheerleading in 8th grade and but no, that was my thing. And that's what got me through high school because you needed to maintain a C average to do the shows.
Right.
And so I wasn't a great student. And so that's what kept me going. So I did all the shows arts. And drama club president, I should say co-president. Give credit to Jack, my still best friend out there, Jack. We were co-presidents. Nice. That's when I fell in love with arts administration.
That's so excellent.
Yeah, and then it's time, to think about college, or because this was the 90s, mid-90s, I applied to one school. I remember my guidance counselor being like, "And your backup is?" I'm like, no, I don't. And it wasn't like I'm going to get into this school. I don't need a backup. It's like I don't have a backup. This is all I'm going to do.
Right.
And I thankfully got in and moved to New York.
Oh, you went to New York?
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Where did you go?
I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I did. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It was. It's but it really. Oh. I mean, it was. Yes, it was a real privilege to be able to go. Yeah. For sure. It got me to New York. It got me out of Wisconsin.
Right. But that's, anytime you're like separating and moving to and making those choices and even if like you did volleyball and played cello and stuff like that, like I think all those things filter into like how process works or what you were tuning into audio. Wow.
I know what you
mean. With your
mean.
Ears. I don't think that coffee kicked in, actually.
Remember, I was a C student. I'm good. You can say anything.
Thanks.
I'll believe you.
But I think that it's all part of the soup. That, even like that, like, I was a C student. Like, I wasn't a great student in high school either. Like, I got through the arts as well. Like, I was in the fine arts, but I also did some theater. And I think that filters. Like, it helps to feel supported in a different way. There's so many different ways to learn and be and present and express and be supported. And
it reminds you, I think I learned a lot through theater and the arts. I mean, forensics, debate, that all of those things, like I think that was my first brush of politics even, because I think it was during that time Tommy Thompson was like cutting like a lot of funds in the schools. And I remember there was a big like town hall meeting or something like that at the high school. And a lot of us drama kids showed up in costume to and I remember speaking to the news guy because he interviewed some of us, about why we were there. And I remember like saying something. My memory is probably a lot better than what actually happened. So if someone finds this reel somewhere, they're going to be like, that's not what you said. But in my memory, what I said was, I bet Tommy Thompson wouldn't be as good of a politician today if he did not have debate and forensics and things like that. So we can't lose those programs in our school, that kind of stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean,
I pretty much changed politics in Wisconsin.
That's right. Good job, Angela. Thank you. Thank you so much. Seriously, though, that's so cool.
But, you know, it's like because you love something. When you love it, you're going to fight for it, right?
Absolutely.
And I loved it. I loved it.
Right.
Still do.
Yeah.
God, just rambling on.
This is what we do.
Okay, cool. All right.
Welcome back to In the Act. This is Erica Singer. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to startle you.
No, it's good.
I was like in the breath, like I was going to talk to you more. And I was like, oh, wait, I should probably put this on air. Right. Which is.
Don't want to lose any gems.
Right. Exactly. Angela, Ramey.
In the house.
So I wondered if you would extrapolate a little bit more about your theater, like working in theater and like right now we moved to New York. What was it like? Were you scared? Because I want to talk about like those little pieces about like how did like it seems like an offhanded thing. Like you were like, oh yeah, I just applied to one thing and you know got in and but it wasn't like you went to like a place down the road or in the States. Like this is a major move, and I think that those transitions are really important for people to understand or kind of walk through a little bit because they're the hardest things of our lives are transitions.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I hope my stomach growling isn't picked up on the microphone.
There's a chocolate bar there for you if you want one.
No, transitions I think are much harder for me now than when I was 18 years old.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, I actually wasn't scared to move to New York.
Wow.
I had the philosophy, and I still try to bestow this philosophy to younger people in my life, you know, like when they're trying to make a big decision. And I try to live by it too, is what's the worst that could happen? Like, really, what's the worst that could happen? And then, like, fantasize about what's the worst that could happen and go, can I survive that? Am I going to be okay if that happens? Yeah, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
So do it.
Right.
So, like, for me, New York was it just was the option. That's what you're going to do. And I was going to go and I was going to be an actor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I worked 3 jobs the summer before going, trying to save money because it wasn't cheap.
Right.
And I had no concept of real money either. We grew up without really any money. You know, we were fine, but money wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And so I worked at the Earring Tree and Pizza Hut, and I did the things.
Love that.
Yes, and saved. And I think I went out there with something like $1,500.
Wow.
And it was the richest I've ever been. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so, and my plan was I was going to go out there. I was going to live. They had, they helped you connect with hostels. So I lived in an all women's youth hostel.
Wow. Cool.
In Midtown. It was
no.
Nah. I mean, no offense to them, but it was fine.
It wasn't like a dormitory, wasn't
no,
like...
it wasn't just so you were living in this youth hostel with women from all walks of life.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so you weren't in there with all students. There was a few.
Okay.
And it was
right.
What was funny about it was a nice building, and on the first floor they had these rooms, these open rooms that without a door, just like kind of alcoves, all next to each other, and they were called the beau rooms. Because if you were going to have a gentleman caller to visit you, you had to sit in the beau room. You could not bring a man to your room.
Wow.
Yes. So I remember like having like I had to practice lines with one of my like fellow classmates, and we went to my place and we sat in the beau room. And went over our lines. Wow. But anyway, so yeah, I lived in a youth hostel, and my plan was you're going to get there, you're going to get a job. I worked at Pizza Hut for like 5 years. I should have no problem, right?
Yeah, right.
And it's like, no. People who wait tables in New York, that's like a legit living, you know?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And there wasn't the Pizza Hut down the corner. So my mom went out with me when I first moved out there, and she stayed with me, I think, for like a few days. And then that was one of my most pivotal moments Want to hear my most
I
pivotal
do.
moment?
Yeah, we
I've
totally.
I've shared this story like I think when I later on in college. It's like I have several pivotal moments in my life, but this was one of them where my mom is very frugal. And so she was not going to take a cab back to the airport. So she found like there's a bus that you could, like a shuttle bus from Midtown. And we were trying to figure it out. Like we're two people from Middleton, Wisconsin. And we're like, where is this bus? And we're in the middle of this city. And so, there it is. Oh, and it stopped at a red light. Like this bus has just stopped. It's kind of hard to explain. But anyways,
Sure.
She's like, oh, crap, there it is. And so okay, bye. And we had this like really like non-ceremonial, goodbye. It was just like, see ya. And she watched me as she drove away, and I watched her as she drove away. And then I remember turning around, and it was like that Sex and the City moment where you just like this like you're in the middle of this huge city, these huge tall buildings, these noises and smells. And for the first time, I'm like, I am all alone, and I have no idea how to even get food. Like, I don't know how to grocery shop. Are there grocery stores? Like, I don't know how to get pizza. I remember going to like a place where you get a pizza by the slice. We didn't have that. I don't know how to do anything.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, holy cow, what am I? So I just remember going back to my room, and I spent probably a good week not speaking to anybody and just hiding in my room until school started. And then I, was able to get more acclimated. And but yeah, that was a moment, when your mom leaves you and you're alone in the city. But then it was, fine. I survived.
Right.
A lot of bad things and good things happened.
Right.
I mean, I was 18 to 24. That's where I spent when I was in New York. So 6 years in New York during those years.
Wow.
A woman with the philosophy of what's the worst that can happen.
Right.
I found out a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then and school it fell to the wayside. Like acting and the discipline of being an actor and this it just fell. I was far too distracted with just the hustle and bustle and the people and the culture and going out, like to fancy bars or dive bars and bars in general,
Sure,
like doing all these adult things, and then I'd be like, I have to memorize lines and do this. And the school wasn't for me. It was not. We didn't get along. The school and I did not get along. I have never been an ingenue. I know it's shocking, but I have always been the character actor. I've always wanted the part where I don't care if I have no lines. I want the part that you remember at the end of the play.
Yeah.
That's where I love that place.
And
I don't need
shine.
I don't need the lead. I just want to be the funny sister or the crazy aunt or the Yenta and Fiddler. Like that's my role, you know. And this school, for me, in my opinion, at that time, was
nicely
more
done, by the way.
Thank you. Was more for the creating soap opera actors and very pretty people. So I was told I had to lose weight. I was called into the director's office at one point, and she had found a doctor for me because they wanted to shave down my vocal cords because my voice was too low and raspy to be a professional actor.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
A medical procedure you're not like a training out of like in a vocal coach.
No, shave my vocal cords because
physical surgical response to you having a low voice.
Yes. So it wasn't for me.
I mean, that's a traumatic thing for like identity and development of self.
Yeah.
To be told that you're too big, you're not the ingenue,
too loud, too raspy,
you're too loud, and that your voice is too deep, and that we need to alter you.
Yes.
Not a character.
If I want to make it in this world as an actor, this is what I need to do. And I'm like, I'm good then. I'll try bartending.
How was it for you at the time? Like that at the time,
It made
you
me
were
very angry.
angry.
I wasn't
Okay.
sad. I was angry.
Wow.
That's my go-to anyway. That's my go-to emotion.
Sure, okay.
It's first for anything is anger.
Right.
So,
Is there a Germanic background there? Sorry.
right?
I started.
Good. So I just remember being like angry and, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Oh, not like I'll show you by being successful. I'll show you by not going to class. I'll show you by, it's like I hurt myself by that. They're fine. The school's still there. They're doing all right.
Right.
But I'll show you by not being successful. Isn't that awful? I wish it
is
was the other way
awful.
around. I wish it was like, I'll show you. And I'm like this big, amazing star.
I think you are, though. I mean,
in my own right.
you are.
Oh, thank you.
You shine so bright for so many people in
Oh.
the institution of humans. How about that?
I want that on a embroidery.
I mean, but I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm glad you're talking about it, because I think that we have barriers. We've each one of us have experienced these like imposed barriers by hierarchical people that have put us down in a way that either shames us or derails us or that sounds so hurtful to me. It just makes me want to cry.
Oh.
And I can't even like imagine. And I love the fact that you had this energy around to be angry and to find, unfortunately, again, that though you carry the burden of those pieces with you.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if this is too personal, but like, then how did you work through that to get to a place where you felt like I'm going to re-own myself and be back in with theater,
Well, I was mad at that institution. I was mad at
I bet.
the school. I was,
mad.
mad at that, but I never was mad at the art, the theater,
Okay.
So I never lost love of that.
That's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was just like school wasn't for me.
Yeah. And as it isn't for a lot of people.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that the shift in culture now.
Thank you.
It's
yes.
so good that it's like why did we think we had to go to college and you have to do this and you have to follow these check marks? You do this and you get college and you get married and then you have kids and then you have your career. And I mean, who made that up? I don't know.
I have no idea.
So I'm so happy for the younger generation now that they're have the freedom and they're allowed to just explore.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that, colleges are way outlandishly expensive. So people are choosing not to go to college because of financial problems.
That sucks.
Which I think is, then we have a class status problem. But I do agree with you about the openness of that. And I think it's really important to name it. And that's why I wanted to talk about creativity, because the act of like not doing the linear, like this is our timeline, it only has one road, this one strand, and you follow on that path. That's not how we operate. It's not how any of us operate, and there are no rules, and you get to choose how, mostly you get to choose, right?
Yeah.
You can have like presented with like really, really sucky environments, and some environments are better than others, but ultimately it's going to be your choice as to how you're going to be able to navigate that, what supports you need. I mean, it's a privilege, I guess, to choose as well.
But I mean,
That's a creative thing.
It is.
It's creative.
No matter what situation you're in life, you have a choice. You always have a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's minuscule, but that's where you have to get your power. It's like you choose it. You're choosing. Now, I'm not talking like we all don't have a choice to go to college. We all don't have a choice to get out of maybe a situation that's harrowing. But you have like a choice of how you respond to something. You know these little. And if you remember that you always have a choice in something, and if you really practice that philosophy, that's how you get your power.
Ooh.
That's your power.
Say it again.
If you practice the philosophy that no matter what situation you're in, you have some sort of choice through time, that's where you're going to get your power.
Yeah. That consistency.
It's practice.
It's practice. Ooh, yes. That's huge.
Yeah. It is, right?
It's huge.
Because we walk through life thinking, it's our first our parents, and then it's maybe a partner or a boss or just, whatever. As we have power.
Yeah.
And we have to remember that we have power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spontaneous philosophies is coming out. Call me Thich Nhat Hanh.
Call you what?
Thich Nhat Hanh. He's a Buddhist philosopher.
Welcome back to In the Act. This is I'm Erica Hunsinger. This is we're talking with Angela Ramey, Buddhist philosopher.
Thich Nhat Hanh. I mean, I grew up with a mother who loved all different kinds of philosophy, religions. She was always and still is always just searching for that way of looking at life. And Thich Nhat Hanh is one of her favorites. So I can't speak to him as an expert. I did put a quote of his on my Christmas card this year, though.
Which is?
I don't remember it. It's a long quote. It's about,
What's the essence of it?
The essence of it is kind of like we were just talking about, that every single day you have an opportunity to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
You have an opportunity to make the world a happier place.
Yeah.
You have that opportunity every single day.
Yeah. I really believe that. And I think it's, gosh, do you remember when if a stranger holds the door open for you, or if you drop a penny and you're like, I can't believe I dropped that, whatever it is. And somebody just walking by, just in time, passes it to you and keeps walking. You don't even have to say anything.
No.
It's just these tiny little human helps.
Yeah.
That really are so significant in our daily lives, I think.
I don't think it was Thich Nhat Hanh. I wish I had my mom here in my back pocket. It might have been Ram Dass, who said, we're all just really walking each other home.
Oh.
Yeah, that's all we're doing. We're just walking each other home.
That's a beautiful
That's a good one.
philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We need more of that. There's a lot of ugly anger out there. That's just weighing on me. It's so hard. So it's easy to sit in this room and talk to you just about the philosophies of life, but the actual practice of it's challenging.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So challenging.
Absolutely. Life is really hard.
Life is so hard.
It's so hard. Yeah.
Eric and I talk about this, I think, every single night. We're like, why is this so hard?
Yeah. Yeah.
And back to, but I have a choice. I'm choosing this.
Yeah.
Because you just got to shift your focus. It's hard. We're exhausted. We're old and we're fat and tired. But, my kids are so cool, and I got a really cute house, and my job is, you couldn't ask for a better gig, and I've got great friends. It's just got to shift your focus.
Right.
It's hard, but it's hard because I'm blessed with the bounty of my life.
Well, the creation of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you've created.
Yeah. Yes. There's nothing. I mean, you can look back at all of my life, and I've got 1,000 stories, and things happening to you. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm going to own. I am where I am because of the choices I've made.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's walk back a tiny bit then. Shoulder roll. Shoulder roll.
Shimmy on back.
Shimmy on back. So thank you for talking about that piece of time that it wasn't for you, and that you're creating your own thing. So and I kind of I love this story because we are in Wisconsin. You're a Wisconsin girl. You explore, expand, come back to. What was your trajectory after that?
After New York?
Yeah.
I decided to leave New York. It wasn't a healthy place for me, and I was just kind of spinning my wheels, And so I decided the best answer is I'm going to go back to school. So I went to American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and then after that, I did a year there. Then I bartended and worked various places, and then I decided I'm going to go back to school. But I went to New York. I went to Queens College.
Oh.
And because I ended up moving to Queens, and Queens College is part of the SUNY CUNY, school system, which is I'm not familiar with it now. Again, this is the 90s, but very affordable. It actually used to be free. It used to be free college, but now it was something like, I paid out of pocket it was something like $56 a credit or something like that. It was
accessibility is amazing.
So it was a wonder. I had a great time at that college.
Yeah.
And then I think I did maybe 3 semesters there or something like that. And then, I had a boyfriend and all of that. And then it's just like, I'm going to move back to Wisconsin. I just kind of decided I was done. And so what got me back to Wisconsin was I couldn't just go. I don't know why, but I decided to go back to school. I went to 4 colleges, Erica. 4 colleges in 7 years for my undergrad. I've got lots of credits. And so then I I applied to UW Madison, but I couldn't get in because I didn't have an upper math credit. Back to my, math was not my thing.
I shouldn't judge so harshly, but I have a real hard time with that.
Yes. So I needed this upper math credit. So then I went to...
Upper math credit? What does that even mean?
Algebra 2 or something that everyone probably got in high school, but I just couldn't, wasn't my thing. So I went to UW Stevens Point for a semester to get this upper math credit.
Yep.
Lived in a non-traditional student dorm, so it was all
as you do,
all the old students were there, and I was like 26 or something.
Wow!
And then I got that upper math credit. Then moved back to Madison and went and finally finished my degree at Madison. And so during that time, I was bartending and working and finally finishing school. And it was like I feel like that's. I have many regrets in life, and I know you're not supposed to, but I do, and I own them.
Oh, yeah.
I like my regrets. Well, I don't know if I like them, but
right.
I'm not going to oh, no regrets. No, I regret that I did not take advantage of college when I wasn't there. Because, I could have really learned some cool stuff, but I was too busy keeping my head above water and bartending and working and, being this non-traditional student and school.
And just you're away from home for the first time. You're in a new culture. You're in a new environment. You're individuating, and that process of separating from becoming your own self, separate from your parents or your growing up area. What do? You have to process all those that information.
You have to go make mistakes.
How you can learn during that time as well is just amazing. So I'm glad that people actually nowadays a tiny bit too are you know what?
Take that gap year.
I'm gonna whatever.
Decade.
Yeah. Take a decade. Whatever.
Yeah. Because and this wasn't a conscious choice, it just happened to be how I stumbled through college. I feel guilty saying this because I know so many people are having such a hard time. I don't have any student loans.
Yeah.
Because I went as a non-traditional student. I was a poor female, old, and I got it all paid for.
Wow. Yeah.
So I don't have any school debt. And
sure.
That's like winning the lottery these days. So.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It is.
It worked out, my stumbling through college.
And that's so important. It's so interesting. But your trajectory, you're still in that wheel trying to go and do and create those experiences for yourself to do that.
Yeah. It's like falling down a big hill, I feel like. That's what my 20s were. This just massive hill that I was kind of and then it hit a boulder and get shot off to this other direction. And you just keep on rolling.
Yeah.
And then eventually you stop and you're like, now what?
Yeah.
I got this degree in theater.
And now what? What did you do?
What are you going to do? What
happened?
Okay, I got my degree in theater.
Did you start? What did you want to do with it?
No idea.
Okay, so I think that's really important.
No idea what I wanted to do.
So you rolled down this big hill trying to get at something.
Yes.
Finally got it, and you're like, I don't even know. Right.
Yeah, you're supposed to get a degree. That's how you get jobs. And so I have this degree in the one subject that I care about.
Right.
Now what?
Right.
This was before the glorious arts administration degree. This is before that degree even existed.
Sure.
So if I could go back in time and that degree existed, that's probably what I would have done because that makes more sense. But, a degree in theater, I mean, there's not much you can do. So I stuck with my bartending. I've done a lot of that.
Yeah.
And then, I got a weird job working at like this gutter helmet, like home improvement like company that I cold called people. And then, then I met a man, and he got me out of Madison. He lived up north in Three Lakes near Eagle River.
Oh, yeah.
And moved up there. And
beautiful.
it was beautiful. I have family in Eagle River, and my grandparents lived in Eagle River, so I'm very familiar with the area. And that's how I met him, actually, was visiting my aunt up in Eagle River. And we started this long-distance relationship, and I'm like, I'm just going to move. And I remember my parents were gone.
What's the worst going to happen?
What's the worst that could happen?
Right.
I had this really cute studio apartment in Madison too. That's another regret. It's like that was a good apartment.
Oh yeah.
And my mom always wanted me to be that girl, like from Mary Tyler Moore. Like she wanted me to be the single,
Mary.
thing. And I'm like, no, I'm just gonna move up to Three Lakes with this guy while my parents were like on vacation. They came back to Wisconsin. I'm like, I'm in Three Lakes now. And I lived there for a year, I think it was. And I'm like, no, I can't live here. I love to visit. It's beautiful. But it's like, what am I going to do? I worked in a coffee shop. It wasn't. So we moved to Appleton with Eric, different than my current Eric, my ex-husband Eric. And we moved to Appleton. We picked Appleton because there was a performing arts center. And I'm like,
sure.
There's that. I'll go work there. That's what I'll do. And he got a job at a printing company, and so we lived there. And I did not get a job at the Performing Arts Center. I tried many a times, and I ended up working at the Post-Crescent, the newspaper, and I sold advertisements.
Wow.
Drove around to small businesses and sold ads. And then after that, I stayed in sales, and I worked at a wine distribution company, and I sold wine. And so I sold wine to the people who sell wine to you. So like grocery stores, restaurants, things like that. And, oh my God, I could keep going. But and then the Ramey, I was a surrogate. And so I had that experience. And then after that, I was laid off from Purple Feet. They got rid of my territory or whatever. And so I was without work. What did I do after that? Oh, yeah. Then I started working at UW Fox Valley, and I worked in continuing education, and then they built a theater space, a communication arts center, and I worked there. And my relationship with Eric dissolved very amicably. He's still one of my best friends. We just were like, we're not supposed to be married, and that's cool. We totally agreed. And my job at the UW was dissolved, and I was now unemployed and living in an apartment, separated from my husband. It was a low point.
Yeah, sure.
But then I found the John Michael Kohler Art Center, and I applied, and I had several interviews, and that was one of the biggest life changes of my life. I moved to Sheboygan.
Wow.
Almost 9 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, in March it will be 9 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that's where I found, this is what I want to do. I had abandoned long ago that I wasn't going to be a professional actor. I knew that I wasn't even pursuing that. I would do community theater. I did community theater I did theater throughout my whole life.
Okay.
So I went through dry spells or things like that, but I always maintained trying to get on stage as much as possible.
Sure.
And so, but then when I found the art center, and
You must have just blown your mind.
it blew my mind.
Yeah.
And what blew my mind the most was how much I absolutely love lifting up other artists. Like that feels better than being on stage.
Wow.
Like supporting and be able to give resources and lift up and amplify artists is like amazing.
Wow.
It's amazing. My job is amazing.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that?
my gig, about what I do? When I first started, I got hired as the public programs associate. So I worked in performing arts, community arts, and education.
Okay.
And but through my interview process and everything like that, it was it was clear that theater was the world that I'm most familiar with versus education and community
arts. And that
arts.
your love and your passion,
That's my thing.
There.
Yeah, absolutely. I love performing arts, and so that's where, like, if there was a community arts project that was more performing arts, I would definitely assist in that. And I've been through time. I was able to move up and evolve my position, and I've been nothing but supported there and lifted up myself, pulled up, mentored. And
it's such a great, I'm so glad to hear that. But it's such an amazing performing arts thing too. Like it's international. You get people from everywhere.
From everywhere. It is world-renowned artists that, that get to come to Sheboygan. And it's so cool seeing them in Sheboygan and watching them experience Sheboygan.
Right.
I realized when I moved here, and as I had probably a year or so under my belt, I was so satisfied, and the best way to articulate that is like why not a big city? There's so much more opportunities in a big city, and I mean big city New York, but I mean Madison. It's like massive now, and my aha moment is I need as a human being in my fiber, I need to feel the impact of my work.
Yes,
and this size community is you feel it. I feel the impact of my work on a daily basis.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's not all, of course, gumdrops and roses. It's hard, and it's still working with human beings. And,
right.
We're
tough, aren't
so
we?
there's all of that, humans are hard.
Yeah.
But I feel the impact of my work. And that means if I don't do a good job, I feel that impact.
Right.
If I work my butt off, I feel that impact.
Right.
It's about, again, being in control, having that power. I have that power depending on how much I put into something of what I'm going to get out of it. It's a constant cycle. You're feeding yourself, and stop looking for other people to feed you. Right? You're feeding yourself with your own power.
Right.
Yeah. It's a great job.
Wow.
It changed my life. I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I came here, separated and gonna just do this thing for a while, and now look at me.
Now look at me. Now you're Mary Tyler Moore, right? No, I'm sorry. No, like that moment, like where that girl, where she
that girl,
spins around, and you have this sense of like freedom, and she throws her hat, does she, or something?
Well, Mary Tyler Moore throws her hat.
Oh, Mary Tyler Moore does, yeah.
That girl, I don't know if she throws anything.
Oh, no, yeah.
She makes the cocktails with her friends.
But and I don't mean like of that, but I mean like that that version of that, like that freedom, that joy. I
found really in my 40s.
Yeah.
Who the kind of person I want to be.
Oh, yeah.
I found a passion of work. I found what kind of partner I want to be. Yeah. That's an evolution, right? Of what kind of partner you want to be. Oh, yeah. Ugh. Gosh, I look back at like, what was wrong with me? And then I credit that to just a really great person in my life who I met doing theater. And so I found that I found out I was going to be a mom. That was never in the cards, and like all these things. Like, okay, this is my life, and I like it. Yeah. I do.
And I mean, that is, oh gosh, this has just been such a beautiful exploration, you sharing all about your life in the dark times as well as the uplifting ones, but that it's not this linear thing that you were like, hey, I want to do this, or you know what, off the cuff, I'm kind of feeling like I want to do, this, or this doesn't feel right to me. But you kept coming back to your center, it sounds like, and that you were driven by that core that you believed in and practiced of it. Do I like this? Like it's this this practice that you had in place to help you make decisions with you, for you, by you.
Because what's the worst that could happen?
Because what's the worst that could happen?
I mean, really, just do it. It's easier said than done, I know.
It is. But getting back to like the beginning part of, you've never been in a community that was more supportive than the theater community. And when you're in creative jobs, I think too, that are so not linear. Like it's like feast or famine sometimes.
Yeah.
And so that when other people can see that you're in famine, they can help raise you up.
Yeah.
And that you took those life lessons and learnings that you experienced and also shared that you're now bringing with you into your today's world.
Yeah. Like there was I don't know when it happened that I became old, like not old, but I'm 45 years old and, but I now working with people half my age.
Yeah.
Like, oh, when did that happen? I was always the young one.
Oh yeah.
And now all of a sudden I'm the old one.
Right.
And I am learning so much from this younger generation.
Absolutely.
So much more than I think I ever thought I would.
Yeah.
I just love being around them. Many of my coworkers are much younger than I am, and
right.
And they're fantastic, and I just learned so much from them.
It's this constant evolution being a human if you're open to it.
If you're open to it.
Right. And I'm older than you are by a significant amount. And I don't actually consider myself old. I'm like, what is that word?
But old in the
timeline.
Perspective. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But there's this intergenerational wealth of knowledge of whatever stage of life that you're in that can add to your life if you're listening and you're learning and you're open to it.
And I'm now at the age where I feel like I'm a resource to younger people as well.
Oh, for sure.
Like I get to, I've had life experiences and things like I can, a lot of times it's not solicited advice. I share my opinions quite frequently, but we've always kind of like heard growing up, learn from your elders. And yes, heck yes, learn from your elders, but learn from your peers and learn from the young ones too, if you're open to it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because everyone has something to offer.
It's so true.
For the most part. Maybe not everyone. But yeah. I don't remember why we were talking about that.
Well, because
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's all that process.
Work.
Yeah. But life.
Life.
That was... So thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, yeah.
About everything.
This is it?
Yeah, we're coming to the...
Oh, my gosh.
Right. Is there something that you'd like to...
No,
right.
It's true. Okay. It does go by fast.
It goes by fast.
There's just so much more I could
There is so much more that you can share. And if people wanted to get in contact with you... Ba-bum. Yeah, right. Where could they?
Yes. You have band suggestions. I'm also known as the girl who books Levitt.
Nice.
No, I'm at the Art Center. I don't know why someone would want to get in contact. Professionally or personally?
Personally, right. Yeah, sure.
If someone wants to get a hold of me, they can get a hold of you, Eric.
Okay, perfect. Yep. Call me.
Call Erica. She'll hook you up.
Thank you, Angela, so much
Oh, my gosh,
this.
thank you.
This was really lovely and wonderful.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate being here and being able to talk about life. It's fun.
Yay.
In the Act is produced in the studios at Mead Public Library in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. More information on the web at meadpl.org.